September 2016. September 1st, 2016. Anything living in the universe can be broken down into this equation. Action from a set X times emotional response times probability of duration of action times at probability of location times did action happen, brackets yes/no, end bracket 1 minus bracket yes 0/no 1, end bracket. Prediction algorithm will require access to shopping habits, travel habits, and internet usage habits from users. From those three sources, you can define your types of people into subcategories and give them all a numerical value set. The set would have to have subsets within them to determine the type of action set taken, i.e. which actions are taken versus a given day compared to another. The weights of these values can be used to determine the probabilities of future action sets known from past values obtained from data. I need to look up algorithm creation. Does this action happen? Yes, no. Is this action within the set of known actions taken in the past? If not, then it cancels itself out with the no function. Does it happen for this duration? Does it happen at this location? If it happens at multiple locations, you chain the probabilities together. Can I build a working model? Who would want to see it? The chained actions become a series of sets to compare against one another. You can compound interactions by multiplying their probabilities against one another. Theoretically, would the NSA care if you're available if you can build the prediction software? It must be as simple as correlating the three types of data to determine actual people and then building comparison algorithms to give them weight against each other to break those real people into types and those types into various subtypes of potential action and then tracking them until the prediction weights are heavy enough to fall into quotes certain ranges and executing predictions and comparing those to the concurrent actions of types until there is a pattern of true with a certain weight and then letting those patterns compare against themselves to produce likely outcomes. It always has the chance to be wrong, but with enough data that becomes a very low percentage. Human will is only a few sets of actions possible. If you think of a meteor traveling in space to have a selective cube of various directions cut around it, it's the same with humans. Well, this is more than useful. The thing is that it makes a difference that all of the action types, location, emotion, action taken, duration, call affect one another and create a cascade of types within a given movement. So it'll look like a stem leading to millions of outcomes giving a large populace of interactions given one time. It completely depends on how you look at the data, but it wouldn't just be to compare travel data, but also the emotional state of a region given future emotional likelihood, which affects actions. It's a self-referential set of data. So it must be possible to build an Arduino that could predict human interaction, a set of buttons that could be used at logical outputs. You could have people press them in order you set as control, then press X buttons. Then do the same thing, press X minus Y buttons, and again until you get into one button extra, and you correlate the types of movements from given button presses, and determine the likely future presses based on the ones pressed. You must make all possible combinations of subtypes from the pool of activated people. You add the weights that give the same output and build a comparison matrix. These lead to a button more often. Then you just sit here and have them press buttons at random after pressing the right order and build a comparison line to redefine the curve, and you set the curve as a type. You take those types that have contained that data sets, and over time it would cancel out the types that are not being pressed with the cancel out zero function of the line, thus determining the actual future movement. Since it can calculate so much faster than a human, it can eventually catch up with humanity, then overtake it with a certain level of certainty. You must then find the minimal number of presses of all types of interaction and predetermine the possible sets of presses. There's no one here watching you, so there are two sets of software needed. Collection for data, correlation, three types, type determination. If this is done with human language, you can literally over time determine the word and action type of the person as they'll make them, and the possible next movements. I need to find some people to build this with, or it's not going to be fun. So for testing purposes, is it worth predefining their movements into different sets of logical sets to force logical outcomes from the given sets? It would make the presses less random, making the algorithm strong, but it means without. Pause. The easiest thing to do for testing purposes is to have hundreds of people have a differing set of buttons to press. That would lead to the precursor set types. Then correlating action taken from these movements of divergence would be more useful. It would be faster to test this out, and with only one subtype though, given that available pool of resources are guaranteed to be limited. September 1st, 2016. World Health Organization, Avenue Appia 20, 1211, Geneva 27, Switzerland. To whom it may concern, I'm looking to build weather prediction software that encompasses the entire planet. I'm in need of help finding reliable information from each country so that I can build the proper algorithms for the data. I realize the sheer amount of data for the hundreds of thousands of collection points over the globe would be difficult to correlate, but I'm willing to spend the time building the structure to do so, and the software to build weather predictions based on location, rain, and drought patterns, and wind information. Once the basic structure is set up, it would be a matter of importing the collected data as far back as it goes, breaking it up into states mentioned previously, and comparing their movements against the past information to trends in future movement. If enough data is collected from all points of the globe, then it would be able to determine the future trends for a given area, as long as the information was computed and compared to real-world input and refined over time. Would your organization be able to help me with gathering this information in exchange for pertinent findings that I'm able to produce? I can be reached at my email or by my telephone. Thank you for your time. Yours sincerely, Jay. September 1st, 2016. Finish the book. Go to school for accounting. Check out books for machine learning, algorithm development. Build a prediction algorithm, independent of the variables put in place into it. Useful for weather, human development. You'll need to learn particle interaction to determine group movement over a large area. Nothing in random order than the probabilities of an action happening, and those are always weighted in some way. Weather determines water levels, land levels, human movement levels at receding coastlines, determines food for coming years, determines trade goods and water passage for decades. You can build a tracking program that correlates visual data. J, you're building an AI. Break the world into pieces, map their heat and if it rains, create time values. If rain is yes, 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 over 3 distances, note movement. If you built the weather prediction log, you can determine the trade points of any good given it's affected by weather. You can figure out the movements of the stock markets based on that data and the movements on past information. You can make a killing. You would have to do dummy paperwork to find a loan. So gather all weather data possibly available, build the algorithm, put it to use, determine the areas that produce materials, include lands that ship over air or water. Air quality affects both. Find the markets that are easily tied to the information. Predict movements, correlate to given data over time, paper buy on low spots, see if they grow, refine direction as you go. You'll need to store multiple values, one of the current weight and all preceding weight values to find patterns within the algorithm that leads to overall weighted movement towards various value trends. Range value matrices in this order within a given cell. Bracket, location, bracket, GPS logical, end bracket, comma data, comma temp, comma rain y slash n slash comma rain amount comma snow y slash n slash comma rain amount snow y slash n comma slash snow amount wind speed if possible wind direction end bracket. They let you order the weather into sets organizable in any of these methods. So you take the last data you have as far back as it goes. They will let you organize into periods of rain, drought, snow, the 3 logical weather types, and then adding its values of days that equal those periods and comparing them to past periods of the last years. It's also worthwhile to compare total location amounts to map out the growth and shrinkage of watered down / drought affected areas. You then map these areas to locations that grow fruit and vegetables and find out businesses that work there. If they're public, you find out if their sales correlate to the water's movement, drought, increase or decrease, increased rain, increase or decrease, snow, decrease in sales. Does it affect their prices? Do prices rise when they have less to offer? Once those values are determined, you can map sales to periods of past events and assume that given an event type, this action will take place unless X action happens to stop, slow, or increase the value of the item. Then if it's publicly traded, you make your weighted bets, and those that hit correctly you track, and those that don't, you research to find the missing information to determine the change until they're hitting directly. You build an algorithm that collects the data and then adds it to the current values and then compares them to last year's. Then it will give you mathematical values that determine the next action. If it increases, then it means the prices will likely fall, and if it shrinks, the prices will likely rise. The hard part is determining where the items go specifically. You can get companies that are major market shares and tell them you'll help them build software to track their growth of sales in exchange for travel information like truck travel duration and compare it to the price model saved. There are only so many suppliers in the world. There's literally no one here to watch you. At least you can see that properly at this point. So you need to determine the values to compare against. Travel time, did it rain on X number of parts of the trip? Did prices rise? If the trucks determine the drive time and rest time and refuel time, then you can build a reliable model of movement. So the thing to do is to build the software and then put it to hardware and sell that to companies. So build a library of past information, import it, correlate it, determine the length of the intermediary groups, determine the pattern between the sets, predict patterns as far as they are reliable. Goal is months ahead. Determine the prediction sets. 1 day minus 365 days. The movements around the globe can be tracked. The rain drought. Snow have movements of given location. You there? I'm going to contact the WHO and see if they have publicly available weather data to build models for prediction purposes. Once the locations are sorted and tracked, you can predict on future movement. Once that's done, I'll build a yearly prediction based on past data and see if they come true. Once they start coming true, I'll build logistics software to sell to companies and determine their weather impacts. Then I can get money to gain access to better information and build human prediction software. Then I can build the market between that and make some money. I think that's what Buffett does. Got to finish this book first, though. Need to build some book discipline. I wonder if they would give the information freely. I could offer them a license to the information once it's done. I know I'm sick, but it can't be helped. Might as well do something that can make money. That'll teach me how to write code and algorithms. Actually, it's the same model as human movement, just less complicated. A lot of data, though, so I would need a dedicated connection to the information. It would have to be updated constantly. It means developing your own time zone values because the information you would come in series. Just a matter of tracking this movement. The sheer amount of data must be absolutely nuts, but it only has to be connected once and updated automatically. Then it's simple. So do the work, Jay. They're missing input data to determine the fluid dynamics of an area. That includes traffic, both air and sea and ground. Sea levels need to also be included globally. Determine the air displaced for any car shape at a given speed over an area. The same for airplanes, the same for boats. Land at night times, angle times, bracket, relative to sun's progress, end bracket, for temp x, location x. Those weren't times, I guess they were x's. What you would need: the air dimensions of the cars made from the manufacturer, the air dimensions of the airplanes currently in service, the volumes of the housing and any given structure from state information, the thermodynamics of air over a certain temperature at a given speed. You need Google for this. The heat given off a structure at a given weather type. The same for roads, so you need heat mapping satellite information. Take this information you can gather from GPS-enabled cars, correlate it to their manufacturer specs, determine their heat index value, duration of movement at speed x, bracket acceleration x divided by negative y, end bracket, add in known values for car types or averages of possible whatever is closest to permanent information. Access to all information is all I need. Heat of object as it moves plus emissions it causes, as well as drag of object. Please visit anchor.fm/divergentmind to leave a message so that I may get back to you. Thank you. Have a nice day. So Anchor is asking me to ask you to support me financially. I would ask that you go to my Patreon to do that, which is patreon.com/divergentmind. It means you can either become a monthly subscriber at a different tier of $1 to $3 to $5. I'm not looking for a lot. I'm not asking for a lot. I'm not asking for anything. This is going to go to the end of my podcast. I don't like it when podcasts straight up ask you for money when I'm doing okay. Well, I'm not doing okay. I'm surviving now to the point that I can make this. I would love to be able to make improvements to this by, say, getting... So basically, I'm running off an iPad, and I would like to improve it by getting different things that would make it better. Maybe some headphones that monitor output, or a better mic. Though the mic I got was from JWife, so I might not even use the better mic. You know what I mean? It's all about whatever I need at the time, but really it's just to get healthy again, because I'm currently over 300 pounds and I don't want to die that young. I would really like to be able to afford some vegetables so I can go back to my vegetarian diet, because being this big sucks. And I'm happy to sit in a chair all day, but I really got to walk my butt off, literally. So that's what the money would be for. It would be for healthy food, because I can't afford it. I can afford ramen and pasta and rice and beans, but I can't live on carbs, because that's how you get this big on antipsychotics. Junk food and carbs, which is just cheap and plentiful around me. So I would like to leave my house and just lose some weight. And to do that, I would like to go to the store and buy some vegetables, please. But you don't have to do anything. I'm not asking you to. I'm not begging. I'll figure it out on my own. Much pleasure, Jay.
Hey people, take a listen to the Divergent Mind podcast. You get both insight into living with a serious mental illness and get to listen to a lovely tale about a journey cute little animals need to take. Don't miss out, and remember, divergent minds don't need to think alike.